conference. Did you have fun? Oh, you showed up, did you? That's nice of you. Yes. Who stayed for the party last night? And for Teen Spirit by Nirvana. Yeah, that was good, wasn't it? It's like we went from Piano Man to Nirvana. Anyway, welcome to the closing panel. Those of you who have been here before know what this is about. I have no idea, but anyway, we ask a bunch of questions from all these folks on the panel. We wanted to have 45 people, but we cut it down to only 14. So we'll try and make sure that everyone has the opportunity to speak. I've told them to limit their answers to yes, no, maybe. And that way we might have, you each actually got 4 minutes to talk. That's it. So take your 4 minutes and distribute it between the hour. That's all you get. Okay? So we're going to start very quickly by introducing yourselves. I want your introduction to be shorter than your Twitter bio. Right? So just who you are, what you do. That's it. I don't even care where you work. No, I'm joking.
I'm Roman, working in JetBrains as a project lead for Kotlin.
I'm Werner Dietl. I'm an associate professor at the University of Waterloo, and I work on the language committee.
So my name is Max. I work for JetBrains as a CEO.
Woo! You got a whistle and everything.
Hi, I'm Zach. I'm not a CEO. I work at Slack.
I'm Kevin. I lead the Kotlin at Google team at Google.
I'm Pamela. And I'm a developer advocate for Kotlin at JetBrains. And then you have to make that little pin that has South Africa in there.
Florina Montanescu, Compose developer relations at Google.
I'm Svetlana, developer advocate at JetBrains.
Hi, I'm Huyen Huet Dao. I'm an Android developer at Adobe.
Jake Wharton, Cash App, Android.
I work at JetBrains at libraries team.
I'm Jeffrey Van Gogh. I'm an engineering director at Google.
I'm Seb. I'm working at JetBrains on Kotlin multi-platform.
He's also called Seb, he said. And he...
Hello? Let's try that one more time. Hi, I'm also called Seb. I do Kotlin developer advocacy, and apparently I don't need an introduction.
So let's try and do it the way Jake did, like get rid of verbs and prepositions and everything and just words. Right, so here's what's going to happen. We have 2 mics somewhere. I can't see them, but they're somewhere there. And what I need you to do is step up to the mic and ask your questions. We also have questions from Twitter and some other ones that we've collected. But the more participation there is locally, the better for everyone, right? You meant to say right. Right. Okay, good. So who's got the first question? Well, this is going really well. There you go, someone do it. Well done, you. And if you're looking for a seat, oh, that's going to be really disappointing.
Hi, so this is working, yes? Say Kotlin is used everywhere in the future, front end, back end, multi-platform, native, everything. Is that your goal? Is that what you want, to get rid of the other programming languages and just have Kotlin everywhere?
Who wants to answer that one?
I would really love to answer. We only want to get rid of bad ones.
So I have a follow-up question with that. What do you consider bad languages?
Yes, no, maybe?
Yeah, yes.
Yes.
Well, there is a story behind this because, Hadi used to joke about JavaScript, and I said that he has to stop.
So now you joke about JavaScript.
Yes,
there you go.
I talk about JavaScript.
No, we love JavaScript. That wasn't sarcasm. Yes, so do you want to add anything else other than the goal? Anyone else that is working on Kotlin or would like to add anything?
I can quickly add. I mean, in Kotlin, we only mostly care about applications, right? People writing application code, whether it's server-side, desktop, web, mobile, but applications. We're not really into like systems developers, things like that. So that's not something we plan to go in any foreseeable future.
No, you have to run to the mic. Yeah, go, run, go. And while you're running, and related to that question, I've got one from Twitter. Is there a future for Kotlin to break into the gaming industry? Who wants to answer that one? Who does games? Okay, I picked the wrong crowd. Sure. I mean, don't hold back, you know.
Yeah, 14 people is not enough, I told you.
14, yeah, we should have had 45. Yes, actually, there are some things around gaming in Kotlin, right? There's some libraries and stuff, but I don't know if they're going to...
Hadi,
yes.
Actually, Marty, are you in one of the Kotlin multi-platform contest winners actually wrote, one of the Kotlin multi-platform contest winners was games. Are you in the room? Marty, stand up, sir. Okay, so, wait. I can't do this without verbs, Hadi. So I was interviewing quite a few folks here at KotlinConf, and I guess adjacent to games might be things that you wouldn't necessarily think of Kotlin for, things like simulations. Where's Holger? Where is Adrian? Those folks over there. There's a lot of really amazing things that you would think that, I think adjacent to games were in terms of like multi-agent systems, simulations that are adjacent that kind of imply that there could be a future there. I don't know. There you go. There's an answer.
Well done. Thank you. Question.
Do you hear me? Yes? Yeah. Okay. My question is related to Kotlin and the Dart interoperability. For example, currently we have the Compose that is that basically uses this key under the hood, which as far as I understood currently will be run on iOS using this key. Wouldn't it be great, like using the Kotlin Dart interoperability, use the Flutter, and then share basically code with native, and when it is possible to JVM, then we wouldn't need, well, Flutter developers wouldn't need to create like plugins for it because, well, there's a Kotlin multi-platform that could be used for that.
So I'm guessing I am the one who has to take this one. So Flutter is a cross-platform language and a framework, and then we have Kotlin multi-platform. And I think Svetlana really described it well yesterday in the keynote. That like Kotlin multi-platform is about like you choosing how much you want to use, whereas like Flutter is like an all-in system. And both have their benefits, right? And so it really depends which one you want to use. What you're describing sounds interesting. I don't think we have looked at it. But yeah, we really are focusing right now on the Android side, working with Kotlin multi-platform and looking about like how we can give people choice in how much they want to do multi-platform versus native.
Why I specifically mentioned this because instead of trying to build a UI system from ground up, could be used like using the existing one, which is Flutter, most probably going to be major. And then just get rid of all the business logic from the Dart code and use in a multi-platform with Kotlin.
You would have to evaluate what makes sense for you. We think that Compose is very promising in this space, right? And we hope that you look at that one.
Thank you very much.
So I forgot my glasses. Is there someone queuing there? Yes,
yeah.
Okay, raise your hands, go.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll keep the question short. Kotlin 2.0 coming around, which technically means you can break compatibility, right? So if there is a feature that you want to remove, what would that be?
I think that could be applied to other folks on the team as well. Like, what feature of Kotlin would you remove? There's a similar question here. Werner, why don't you answer that as someone completely neutral?
Maybe. My experience so far has been very positive with Kotlin, so I don't have anything I would kill at the moment. So that
Not even delegation?
Delegation? You don't like delegation?
I'm not saying I don't like. I'm just asking. Not even delegation?
our go-to joke in the team, but that's just a joke, is that inheritance causes like all the problems in our lives.
I would reconsider positional decomposition or decomposition at all, because that causes a lot of bugs and also degraded IDE performance.
Same, actually, so that's easy.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I'm still not convinced companion objects are the best way to write programs.
I would like a replacement for companion objects.
I'm just super scared at all the crazy ideas we're going to get at the language committee next for breaking chains review.
Okay, next person in the room.
Hello. I guess this is a question mostly for Maxim. So what's the plan with Compose Desktop? Are you guys going to like ramp up investment and start porting IntelliJ to it? Or is this going to remain something you use mostly for the toolbox? And what's the plan for the future of that?
Oh, it's a great question. So basically, we love this technology, but unfortunately, we don't use it much. And even there is a bigger issue with, have you heard of Fleet, our new IDE?
Yeah.
And there is an engine behind the Fleet, which is quite similar to Compose, but it's different because it started before Compose appeared. And so now we're trying to find a way to merge the two, because maintaining both is just nonsensical. Yeah, but it turns out that you know, given the flexibility the approach gives you of the declarative UI, does not that matter much which particular framework do you use. And yeah, generally for desktop, I have really high hopes for that people will start using it, because you know, the mission of killing bad languages is important. And I think that it's not fair that mobile applications have great performance and great user experience, and for desktop we end up with using just web. Does that answer the question? So there is no particular defined plan. We will find out while we.
Yeah, so it's going to be an iterative, sort of exploratory. Okay.
Okay, I have a question. Who here has adopted Kotlin multi-platform? Okay, right. Who hasn't? Zach? Yes.
In what capacity? What does adopt mean?
I mean, in your job, in your Slack. You know Slack? Right. Anyway, so yes. There's a question asking what are the biggest hurdles or barriers for adopting multi-platform. So my question is to you. Did you try, and did you encounter any barriers?
We haven't tried multi-platform in the Slack Android app yet. We've not tried multi-platform Kotlin. We've done cross-platform C stuff in the past, and that was more or less widely considered a misadventure. So there's like trepidation, and like people are not against it, but you have to make a really compelling case, and there's the added effect of war stories, basically, with people having done these libraries in the past. So for us, it's like we're doing some multi-platform work in open source that enables us to do some, we can build some internal tools with Compose Desktop. We can kind of get our feet wet with it. But I think the biggest thing you're going to run into is just as soon as you say we have UI, Compose UI on iOS, the iOS team is going to say, but it's material.
Okay. Jake, you raised your hand. Say something.
Yes, Hadi.
Come on. I'll let you a few more words. Go on. Knock yourself out.
About what? Barriers to multi-platform?
Yes. I mean, if you've adopted Kotlin multi-platform.
I mean, we're heavily into it now. I mean, we're running Compose multi-platform, not Compose UI, just Compose, serialization, coroutines, just a ton of stuff. And I think it's been a thing where we've like worn down our iOS developers and shown them that there's just a ton of value that we can deliver. And the initial thing was always there's an actual real world business problem that we're having either diverging implementations or buggy implementations or something where we can tell them like, we're just solving this problem so you never have it again. And then you can kind of just keep adding one more thing to it, and then adding one more thing to it, and then you throw all of Compose into it. And I guess for us, we have the advantage where we really value the native UI toolkit on each platform. We never really, maybe not never, but we don't want to take away from that. So we're focused on a lot of things that frees up our iOS developers and web developers to hopefully work on the more interesting aspects of the app that they can enjoy. And then the mundane, really heavy business logic stuff is just is done for them. And then I will say, kind of going back to the thing I would remove from Kotlin in the JVM influence, is that I would just love to see a lot of care given to how Kotlin is exposed to both Objective-C and Swift in the future and going forward. We can control a lot of how we expose stuff to Java, but being able to make sure that the Kotlin that our iOS developers see looks and feels like an API that's comfortable on the platform would go a long way to reducing those barriers.
See what happens when I allow you to speak? You get claps. Next question.
Hello. My question is mostly for JVM. So Java has been improving lately a lot. They have they have smaller release cycles. They are up to date, so they have futures. So do you feel threatened that they will overcome the Kotlin advantages? For example, you had to make a talk about Loom and coroutines because people cannot understand the benefits of one versus the other. So what do you plan to do about that? That's a question.
Yeah, I think Kotlin and Java is fundamentally different languages in their design philosophy. In Kotlin, so first of all, we evolve Kotlin based on your feedback, right? So whatever community needs, we look at the problem and solve them. It doesn't, we don't, in this situation, we don't see Kotlin developers abandoning Java when in Kotlin and going to Java. That's simply not happening. We don't have any stories like that, or in mass maybe. So we don't actually feel any threat. Actually, we see more and more Java developers converting, continuing to convert despite advances. So even if the threat exists, we don't feel it or don't see it coming in any foreseeable future from what we can tell.
I agree. Okay, I agree. And you may not see people from Kotlin going back to Java, but you may see less people from Java coming to Kotlin, because the main, I'm talking about JVM, I'm not talking about mobile, but also for mobile. The main influence for, mostly people coming to Kotlin, they came from Java. And what can we think that, how can we be sure, well, you cannot be sure, but that Kotlin doesn't end up a second Scala?
Well, first of all, KotlinConf' selling out, and I got 700 people on the waiting list.
Yeah, that's
so. There you go.
I have maybe a general kind of notice that competition is not about this threat. In many cases, in this as well, competition is about inspiration. And if you see that Java is evolving, it's a good thing, first of all. Yes, so some of the ideas that Java is now adopting is because we've proven them in Kotlin that they are important for people. And also, some of the things that they do also would inspire us to do better. And if by any chance we find out that there is no one interested in using Kotlin because Java is great, so be it. So as I said, we only want to kill bad languages.
Okay. Thanks. Competition is good. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. So I have a question, which is a quick just show of raise of hands, because it's like I want everyone's opinion. Given that Kotlin is kind of object-oriented and functional, it's kind of everything, which approach do you prefer? Raise your hands if you prefer functional approach. Come on, don't be shy. It's okay. No one's going to judge you.
What if you like both?
What does that mean? Can you give me a chance? Who likes functional? Okay, prefers functional. Functional means functions, as opposed to methods. Object-oriented? Both. Okay, never mind. You're not good at this. Let's move on. Next question.
Your question is flawed.
Yes,
nice
the
thing
one
about
at the
Kotlin is
back.
it does both.
Wait. There's someone at the back. Go.
Hey, yeah, my question is about formatters. And there is one thing that I wish Kotlin would have done different is having the default formatter built in inside a compiler, something like Go FMT. And like, for example, with trailing commas. I think like 4 years ago, we were all asking trailing commas, which we got. Awesome. Now people are complaining whether trailing commas should be added when there is only one parameter or not. Waste of time. How about JetBrains decides what's the style guide for everyone and enforce it, make it not configurable, and we just have it instead of having like multiple community tools that are doing that?
Go, Zach. Go.
I think even if they had one, the community would still make them.
Anyone else has an opinion?
Choice is good.
Choice is good. Others?
So regarding formatting and the general API shape, as usual, there's no silver bullet. And we try to make things consistent all over the place to the best of our possibilities. But some things are always debatable. And we do not want to enforce this choice to other people. So they're free to choose.
Okay, next question.
Hello, my name is Nadia Magazine. I'm a junior Android engineer, and I listened to Kotlin conference last year when it was online, and Seb and Kate did a great job. It was great, and on the last conference there were a lot of talks about Kotlin Mascot and how we want to call him, and we did our suggestions. And I Googled it. And I didn't find any answer. So what happened with the Mascot?
We'll come back to that question later. Trust me, we will. Trust me. Seriously, we will. Yeah, we will. Today. I promise you. Promise. I'm not going to say if it's going to be pleasant or not, but we will. Okay, so I have a question from online. What do you think is going to be the most important platform for Kotlin in the next 5 years? And anyone can answer that. Preferably not Max. Not that you can't, I'm just saying. Or you, Zach. Someone that hasn't spoken. Sveta, come on. Florina. Seb. One of you.
Yeah, I'll do the cop-out answer. I think the main thing is going to be more people writing common code and just being able to target whatever platform comes out or actually manages to dominate the ecosystem.
That's a good answer, actually.
Thanks.
And we didn't plan this, I promise. Anyone else? Thoughts?
I would still say that probably JVM will be mostly what we focus on, or like not focus in the sense of that we will spend most time, but it will be the platform that will be most used, and Android and JVM will be therefore, in my opinion, the most important platforms to be perfect on, and iOS and other platforms they will get closer and closer to what we experience there, and the compile times hopefully are getting faster there, and the tooling will get better and better so it catches up. But Kotlin JVM is great, and we hopefully catch up with all the other platforms there in the tooling department.
Okay, next question.
Okay, so little off the road question here for the Slack people. I recently came to know that Slack was founded as a game, and then it didn't succeed, and then you changed to a chat product. How do you train a team that was decided to make a game to go to a chat and make it that well?
You joined several years after that happened.
Yeah, I was supposed in that answer, yeah.
Yeah, the story behind that, this is not really Kotlin related, but I can make it quick. The story behind that is pretty cool. The original company was called Tiny Speck, and they made a game called Glitch. that was very well loved by the people that played it and the people that made it, but it was also not financially successful. And so TinySpec shut the game down, they laid everyone off, but it turned out that people really liked the chat window in the game. And then they took that out and called it Slack, and then they actually hired back, I think, most of the people that were originally laid off, and that is now Slack. So if you ever try to go to like slack.com to something that is like a 404 page, that is actually a glitch like from the game UI, and the holding music and huddles is like the glitch game music. There's a lot of love still there. Internally, we're still called TinySpec, so yeah.
Great, thank you.
It's cool that you know that.
So, question from online. Nice start, JetBrains, double exclamation mark. I am excited about Kotlin notebooks. Anyone else? Does it mean that we will be able to use Kotlin for data science ML projects? Is there any library or framework which can simplify prototyping using popular ML, like TF2, and CV tools, like OpenCV? Roman?
Yeah, definitely you can. And we actually open source a bunch of data manipulation, data science related libraries. Just go check them out. I mean, I can't promise everything, and definitely we at JetBrains, we won't be able to create every library out there for you. Like we'll give you like core tools and give you notebooks, and if you need something domain specific, go create it.
Next question.
Hi, I'm using Kotlin.js, not just Kotlin.js, in a Kotlin multi-platform library, a data visualization library named Data2Viz. And we are a bit concerned about the compilation time for the JS target specifically, especially with the new IR backend. Because before, in the legacy backend, you could compile only the module that you needed to compile, and you didn't have to recompile all the libraries. So there were multiple JS files, and we could actually get sub-second recompilation times when it was a quick sketch, and you can see it on play.data2viz.io. You see it's very fast to change any number. You blink, and it's there. But with a new IR backend, it's like 10 seconds or 20 seconds. It's extremely long, and we cannot convince JavaScript developers with that, while we could before. And I'm concerned that now it's being deprecated. So what is it? Is it like it's always going to be slow? Maybe it's 5 seconds, but which is still a lot slower than what we had before. And as the code base grows, it's like this? Or are you going to provide a paired library, pair module compilation thing, or some magic? Or is it all on Kotlin WASM now?
No, first of all, Kotlin.js is still separate from Kotlin WASM, and with JS IR backend, there's still optimizations to be done. I can't answer for a specific case. So we'll have to dig into details whether what's the plan for this particular problem. But answering your WASM thing, right now there's two separate, like WASM is still experiment. We really don't know where it turn, like in what direction. In WASM itself, we learn WASM GC that is experimental. So, I mean, there's no like, we still have to support GSR, and we'll support it for foreseeable future.
Thank you.
Next question. The one folks at the back.
Thank you. Wanted to ask you a little more about how you approach language design. So, like early on, there were some like core decisions which were pretty interesting, like in a coroutines where suspend is the only kind of part of the language, and everything else is driven by the libraries, or say the lack of static, companion objects being the replacement, and kind of like some of the features that I've seen during KotlinConf that you plan to work on, say like the literals for the collections. Or the static extensions for the types that we don't own. So kind of like, where do you draw the line between those like early tenets and ideas behind the language and what the community wants? So Roman, you mentioned that like Kotlin is a community-driven language, and you kind of see where like what people are requesting. But are there any maybe points where you would say that, okay, the community wants it, but this kind of goes against the core tenets of the language?
It's simple. Our goal is to solve the problems community faces. It doesn't mean we will just blindly do what community suggests as the solutions, right? Because every problem have multiple solutions, and whenever community, like we have a problem, we see people have a problem, we look at the solutions, and between those solutions we pick the one that fits Kotlin best, like Kotlin spirit. And sometimes it can be hard. Sometimes, you know, all solutions we see do not really fit well into Kotlin. In this case, we'll be trying harder to find one that fits the spirit of the language.
Thank you.
And I can also add that the whole experimental stage also helps, because when the feature, like every new feature release is experimental, and we get the feedback from the community, and only after it is being tested, it makes sense to work on. So it's like, in this case, it's very much community-driven process.
Thank you so much.
Okay, online question. Has the adoption of Kotlin been increasing for backend applications? Although Kotlin is often associated with mobile app development on platforms like Android and iOS, what measures can be taken to change this perception and highlight its potential for backend apps? Kevin, I think you can talk a little bit on that.
Yeah, so we use it on backends, and we certainly hope other people do as well, and I think your own data suggests that they do more than maybe they tell us. We think it's a great fit for working on the JVM as well, whether there's Android code as well or not, and we certainly see that at Google being accepted and increasing.
Yeah, and just some facts for you. The first time we did KotlinConf in San Francisco, we had about 75% of folks Android. This year we have about 25%. And there's a lot of back-end developers. The thing is that, you know, they don't speak. I mean, they just speak.
I mean, they will.
I mean, they don't tell us about it. And there's no server-side app store that we can go and analyze and see how many server-side applications there are. Okay, next question.
Thank you. For the record, I have never done Android. I just do desktop and backend. My question is about Compose multi-platform, and I just had a look through the release notes for 1.4, and for web, it seems it's now called HTML, and then there's a new WASM target. So what's the future on that? Are we going to have two webs, or are they going to merge at some point?
Seb, you want to take that?
Sure, yeah. So one of the huge benefits that you get with Compose multi-platform is like really sharing your UI down to the pixel level, right? So Compose for web, currently what we're doing is we're investing in the WebAssembly approach that you've also probably seen during the keynote. That's based on like a Canvas implementation, right? The implementation that you've seen previously, which is our DOM-based library, that's staying around. You can use that, but you just have to realize that while it allows you to use kind of Compose as your approach to managing state, you don't get all of the nice benefits of like your UI looking exactly the same between your different platforms.
So is it right to say that if I want to share composables between like Android, the desktop and web, that it's going to be WASM, and then for the HTML it's just its own thing?
It would be the Canvas-based implementation, yeah.
All right, thanks.
Next question, at the back.
My question is, when do you think the iOS developers that are consuming the libraries that we make in Kotlin multi-platform will start feeling more like first-class citizens? Because now it doesn't feel that much like so, with the Objective-C headers being generated and all the other limitations that a lot of the talks over here have pointed out.
Yeah, I personally think that what will be very, very important for convincing the iOS devs is that we actually have some kind of Swift interop. And I also want to encourage to talk to the TouchLab guys and their Sky. It was really impressive, and those folks are awesome. So talk to them, and they can help you out. And I think with their tool, you might be able to convince the iOS developers.
Isn't Sky a paid product?
I am not sure.
Okay, I'm not sure either, but okay, thank you.
Next question, at the front, I believe.
All right. So my question is about Loom and coroutines. So first of all, I don't think that Loom deprecates coroutines for many different reasons. But I wonder if coroutines were backed by Loom virtual threads on the JVM, and not only for the I/O dispatcher, but also for the default dispatcher, wouldn't that remove the issues that might be caused by accidentally blocking a thread on the core thread pool? Does that make sense, and is that something that you would consider?
I can answer that, if you don't mind. So we're experimenting with that, and as soon as Loom will be released, we'll definitely release something to be interoperable with Loom. But the biggest issue here is the loss of cancelability. So we're not sure we will be 100% able to replace suspendability with Loom and its virtual threads, but we'll try our best. And anyway, we expect both Loom and coroutines to be used in the same projects.
Yeah, I can add one thing. I mean, Loom does not magically solve your blocking program. Like, if you think Loom can somehow solve your blocking main thread, think again, because when you blocked, it doesn't matter, you still can't update your UI anymore. If you are in UI, for example, you write code that processes the action, and this action has to update state, you can't block there, Loom or not. Even if you offload this work to other threads, you still can't update state, your application effectively hanged. So there is no magic. If you write UIs especially, I mean, your only good solution is to use coroutines anyway.
Yeah, but also, sorry, also in the context of the backend, for example, for I/O, wouldn't in that case it help at least?
It depends.
Okay, thank you.
He spent how many years in consulting? That's where it comes from. Question at the back.
Hi, I also have a coroutine-related question, but kind of a stupid one. Did you, when you initially implemented coroutines, consider naming it with a K?
Yes, we did consider naming them with K, and we've consciously resisted this temptation, because in Kotlin, we believe that if there's established a term, we should use it, not invent new. We have interfaces. We have not invented new terms. We have public, private. We have not invented new terms for the established things.
Like in Kotlin Xcover?
But that's a library. That's not a term. That's brand name for a library.
Fair enough.
Next question.
So I really like the Kotlin scripts, especially the main.kts one, where you can have your dependencies in the script and you have a single file that can run your code with dependencies. I haven't really seen anything about it on the conference. Is anybody except me using it?
7 people clapped, so I guess there's your answer. Yeah, go ahead.
We actually use them quite a bit in the Slack Android repo. Just, there's a lot of things that in the past we would have gone to Bash or Python for, that Kotlin script is very accessible and it works well. So you're not the only one. What's up?
Okay, question from online, which is actually quite interesting. What's the best way to teach my kids Kotlin? I have first-hand experience. First of all, tell them Python and JavaScript doesn't exist. And then, because my little one ended up with Python. I don't know why. I'm sorry. I'll talk to him. Any comments? Like, seriously, what do you think is the main barrier to teach kids Kotlin?
Documentation.
What?
Documentation.
Documentation.
That
like they don't read?
Well, maybe not. So I'm actually a second-generation coder, and my dad taught me how to code BASIC and Turbo Pascal and things like that. And I think like you have to have things that are easy for children to learn from. My dad just handed me this big BASIC book, and I was just like, I can hardly read, but okay. So I kind of learned some things from there, but you really need something that really kind of works well. And something that works really well with kids is like visual stuff. So something like learning to develop a little Android app in Kotlin would be perfect. But something that I actually really wanted to say is like, you know, we have Kotlin cones, but why don't we have Kotlin cones for kids? don't put that all together, but because that would be very awkward. And also there's a book series called HTML for Babies. Why is there not a Kotlin for babies?
Well, you can write it.
I don't have babies.
I do have a very practical answer to this question. I think that it's the ecosystem and tooling. So it's hard to set up all the tools that you need, the build system. It's hard to add dependencies. You have to know these Maven coordinates to use a simple library. And from a language perspective, it's a type system. It's a godsend for a professional developer. For kids, it's hard to grasp.
But yet they have Kotlin native as well. I mean, to all practical effects, they don't need the JVM or anything else.
Is that easy to manage in terms of dependencies? I don't think so.
So just one thing to add for is I think if you give people things that they can put into context and that they're naturally interested in, it automatically becomes much easier to overcome any kind of hurdles that might be in your way. I'm concretely thinking about stuff like Minecraft modding. That's already running on the JVM, and you can do that in Kotlin. And I think it's something that makes it very tangible and very visual, the things that you're doing, because you're really manipulating a virtual world, and you can kind of use your creativity in this like virtual sandbox, which might be quite nice to just kind of explore either together with the kids, or if they're a little bit older, just have them kind of roam around on their own.
Next question.
Sorry, Hadi?
Sorry, go
I
ahead.
just wanted to say, remember to give your girl codes a code. Yes, remember to equip your girls to code, as well as your boys.
Yep. Next question.
I would like to use Compose for desktop one day without JVM, so it just runs on Kotlin native and Skia. Will that be possible?
Maybe. I mean, I also love to use it. Right now we focus on bringing it to iOS, but I mean, I don't know if you can actually.
Well, actually, I've seen someone on Twitter who did actually vary the same thing. They've had this JVM app and compiled with GraalVM and have a binary without JVM. That works already.
Next.
Question on Kotlin multi-platform regarding UI layer. Are there any thoughts or vision how Kotlin multi-platform can address UX-specific guidelines of a certain platform?
I can probably answer that one. When we're talking about Compose multi-platform, the answer is we're very much aware that that is something that we need to do, but it's not something that we just want to run and just kind of start implementing the first thing we think is good. So that's why we really want to hear from like the community, like which parts you think are the most important, which parts maybe are okay to be shared or platform independent in their design. And then so that we can just come up with something that works delightfully for people. So yeah, it's just come and talk to us and be involved in the conversation. We don't have a decision yet.
All right, thanks.
Okay, question from online. Is using reflection now considered an anti-pattern in the context of multi-platform?
In multi-platform, yes, because reflection is really heavy. It really relies on VM. So in GVM, I mean, it's supported, but in multi-platform, if you want compact native code, I mean, it is anti-pattern because will considerably make your application considerably more heavier.
You can also notice that for any reasonable usage of reflection in other ecosystem, we try to come up with a language-based or compiler plugin-based solution that does not leverage reflection, but solves this the same domain-specific problem, like serialization, for example.
Yeah, I would agree that when there is a non-reflection solution, it seems usually preferable for many reasons. Sometimes you pay for it with build time, but I think that's still in many cases worth it. But then there's just things that reflection is amazing at, and as long as you are on a platform where that's good, sure.
Question at the back.
Hello, I'm Boris. We last meet in Copenhagen in the last conference. Back then I was a JavaScript developer and asked a question about that. And I just wanted to inform you that I'm using Kotlin and backend nowadays, every day. And I'm teaching Kotlin at the university. So I just wanted to say thank you for your great work and for this Kotlin conference.
Thank you. Wow.
Okay, there's a question about function coloring. I think Roman Lazar made an article about that a few years ago. It was about, I think by then only suspending functions and non-suspending functions, but I believe that there's a lot of other stuff that could color functions. One thing that maybe should be the default color, I hope everyone gets that analogy, like some metadata around that function, is the check result thing. So in AndroidX we have that check result annotation, and if you don't use the result, it warns you, hey, you probably wanted to also use what this function returned. And for every function that returns some things, except for builders, no, wait, okay, depends. But this can be a recipe for bugs to forget to use a result, and there are other things. There are also exceptions because we are still in a world, including not just on Kotlin JVM, where functions can throw exception. Some expected, some when there's a problem that you are not responsible for, but when you are, that's a problem. And I think there are a bunch of other things, and so I was wondering if there's any ideas on how to tackle that problem. There's also another thing, a function that does blocks for a while, and you, but like maybe like half a millisecond, but you run it 20 times in a row on the main thread, and then it drops frames. And so we don't have a color to say this function is safe, perfectly safe. It's synchronous, but perfectly safe to run on the UI thread until this many times. But this one, probably you might have problems.
Okay.
Yeah. That's
stop there. So this is becoming tech support. Go.
Yeah. First of all, check result. We're looking into it, and it's definitely one of our play. But it's so just go vote for it. There is an issue about it. I mean, and we'll definitely address it at some point. It's rising in popularity. And for other colors, it's a really more static analysis, which is like completely separate topic. And we try to kind of keep a barrier between what we do in the language and what compilers should be checking, because that affects compilation performance. And everything that's like really this weird things, we try to give this to IDs and other static analysis tools that help you write correct code.
Yeah, so Android Lint, for instance, has a UI thread analysis that you can use that doesn't slow down the compiler, but it gives you a lot of those benefits. For return value, similarly, there's multiple analyses out there that you can use. And I would agree that it does seem like, having to use the return value is a good default, just like non-null is a good default, but it is very hard to introduce after the fact. So back to Roman on how to do that.
And I want to react to that concern about compilation speed. Can't we have maybe sometime different modes? So I want to compile fast, and I want to compile very slow, and checks absolutely everything it can.
That's what static analysis tool do. That separate mode you run to analyze your code for problems.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next question at the back.
Hi. Why did you kill AppCode? It was great, man. Now we have to use Xcode.
I can answer that. The only reason is it wasn't really financially successful after being, since 2000, like 15 years on the market. Okay. I guess we've given it a fair run.
Okay. Question in the front.
Hi, this is a question for Google, really. We deploy to Google Cloud Platform, and I really enjoyed seeing what AWS was doing with the Kotlin SDKs, and just wondered if Google were considering doing something similar.
So I think neither of us are from that part of Google.
Yeah, actually, James would have been the best person to answer. He came from cloud, but I'm not sure if he's still around.
He's out drinking.
He made the right choice.
He's long gone.
We did open source both Kotlin support for protocol buffers and for gRPC, and so hopefully that at least gives you a starting point.
Okay, the next person that stands up is the last person that's going to stand up. I mean, in terms of asking questions. I didn't mean anything else by that. At the back.
So Google has released a multi-platform data store right now, which is super cool. So I wonder, how far does Google want to go with multi-platform libraries? And can we expect more AndroidX libraries to be multi-platform? Maybe all of them?
So we just released the alpha of data binding, collections, and annotations, and we really need your feedback on how you like it, how you're using it, and hopefully we can use that data to make decisions if we can move more over. Just keep the feedback coming, and that help us make decisions.
So you tell us, should we do more?
Navigation, maybe?
Florina, say that louder. What did you say?
You tell us, should we do more?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Come on, clap. Yes. There you go. You see, over 1,000 people are telling you should do more. Right.
Thank you very much.
Question in the front?
Thank you. My question is related to mainly the compiler and the debugger. So currently with IntelliJ IDEA and Android Studio, whenever you debug, there is a really nice evaluator where you can test ideas. Like I can even write a function like really large code and test it while I'm debugging it. It's really perfect. But the only problem is that I can only do it within the context of a specific class, and I can't do it. I can't, for example, add a new code or instantiate it like outside of the context. Just asking, is it possible to add a feature to the IntelliJ IDEA so you can add a code and just evaluate it, which is available during debugging?
So in Android Studio, we now have this feature called Live Edit for Compose. It's currently in Canary builds of Android Studio Giraffe. If you're doing any Compose editing, please try it out.
In general, code editing, like I have a class and a function, and I add a method. I just evaluate it, and that's available during debugging. And or let's assume that I just run a unit test, and during the test, I just stopped the debugger, added a function, and then evaluated it, and then that's available at the next step of the debugging process. Just a question, if it's possible or
it's
how
wonderful
hard it
idea.
is.
Oh, sorry, I thought someone else.
Yeah, first of all, try Kotlin notebooks. I mean, and they can let you play with code. And in the context of debugging, we're actually thinking of whether we should integrate notebooks with debuggers, so you can play with notebooks while you're debugging, and to play with data that you're debugging with. That's one of the ideas there. So try notebooks, give us your feedback, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, thank you very much. I really tried Notebook. I, for example, tried to use Scratch files or REPL, and it allows me to specifically connect to the specific module and test the idea there, but unfortunately it doesn't work reliably.
Okay, that feedback goes in the issue tracker. And by the way, that's your third question. I was gonna... Question in the back.
Thank you.
Also, you can afterwards just talk to me. I think I understood what you meant, and I think there's a solution.
There you go. Question in the back.
I just want to know what happened to the gateway for the remote development. Because I'm jealous about my colleagues using Visual Studio Code, the performance is much better.
Max, that's for you.
That's not fair.
Life isn't fair.
Yeah, so we are aware of the performance and stability issues and quality issues in Gateway, and there is a team dedicated on to fix that. So Perfect. They committed, they're working on it. At the same time, they also have another approach for remote development called Fleet, and I urge you to check it out.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much.
And let's take the last question from online, finish on a high. Someone asks, does any of this make any sense anymore to us as developers, or will AI take over? Anyone want to comment on a positive? Come on, please.
Yes.
Yes, what?
Maybe.
Maybe. Great. So, with that, that's the last question. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Zach. You wanted to say something.
There's a really good quote I saw for this that I like a lot, that AI is not going to take your job, but someone that knows how to use it will.
Yes. Excellent. Good.
Sorry,
was that meant to be a positive or a negative comment? So go and learn AI. Right. With that, we're done with the questions. And there was one question that was pending, which was the mascot. Yes. So, the mascot. Do you want to see the mascot? So we took your feedback. We released the mascot several years ago. I think it was 5 or 7 years ago. We took your feedback. I don't know what exactly we did with the feedback. But we somehow listened to you. And I'd like to present to you the reimagined mascot. And it's called Cody, and it's spelled K-O-D-E-E. It's kind of like Java EE, except Cody. So next version will be K2EE. So the mascot is yours. You can do, well, I mean, yes, you can do whatever you want with the mascot and enjoy it. And here's the other surprise. On your way out, at the reception desk, there are pins of the mascot. There's 1,300, and there is someone that is going to be standing there watching if you take more than one. And you'll be asked to step to the side. So with that, thank you. I hope you enjoyed KotlinConf, and I hope to see you all back next year. And thank you to the panel.